I saw my wife get excited over another man and turn to leave, ready to end our marriage forever. Her smile wasn't meant for me, and the way her eyes followed him made something inside me shut down. I stood up, heart steady, already rehearsing the quiet exit. But seconds later, she did something so unthinkable it stopped me cold, broke my heart, and forced me to question everything I believed. That moment is where people assume the story begins, but it's really the end of a longer unraveling. Let me take you back to when trust felt solid and certainty felt earned. Back when I believed love didn't require vigilance, and marriage wasn't something you defended from strangers. Back when excitement still belonged to us alone. My name is Thomas Keller, and I work as a civil project coordinator in Northwood, Oregon, a town where routines matter. My wife, Elaine, was vibrant, social, effortlessly magnetic in ways I never tried to be. We'd been married 13 years, no children, just careers, traditions, and a comfortable rhythm. I believed stability was love's strongest proof. Elaine believed life should feel electric. At first, those beliefs coexisted peacefully. Over time, they clashed. She chased moments. I built foundations. She began lighting up around other people, especially men who listened wide-eyed to her stories. I noticed but dismissed it as harmless charm. I told myself confidence didn't equal betrayal. Still, her laughter began sounding different, arriving quicker, lasting longer. I ignored the small discomforts because marriage teaches you patience before it teaches you honesty. The night everything shifted was a charity fundraiser hosted by her firm. I attended out of obligation, not interest, standing near the bar while she worked the room. That's when I saw it. A man from her department leaned close, saying something that made her laugh too freely. She touched his arm, then did it again. Her posture changed. She wasn't networking. She was engaging. People around us noticed. I felt invisible, reduced to background furniture. I waited, expecting awareness, apology, correction. None came. Instead, she grew more animated, feeding off his attention like fuel. That's when clarity arrived. I didn't argue. I didn't interrupt. I simply turned and headed for the exit, deciding silently that some lines, once crossed publicly, couldn't be uncrossed privately. I had reached the doors when I heard my name, sharp and frightened. I turned just as Elaine rushed toward me, her face pale. She didn't apologize. She didn't explain. Instead, she grabbed my hands and did something I'll never forget. She knelt, right there in front of donors, colleagues, strangers. Not dramatically, not loudly, but deliberately. She said my name again and told me she'd been wrong, that she'd been chasing validation because she felt herself fading. People stared. The man behind her froze. My heart cracked, not healed. Love doesn't require humiliation to survive. Her desperation forced me to question whether I'd missed something essential, or whether this was simply damage control disguised as revelation. I helped her up, nodded once, and walked back inside, uncertain, shaken, and no longer sure what truth looked like. We left together in silence. At home, she talked non-stop, explaining feelings, loneliness, invisibility, fear of aging, fear of being ordinary. I listened, not because I understood, but because the version of her kneeling on marble floors demanded acknowledgement. Over the following weeks, I replayed everything. Her excitement, my exit, her collapse. Was it remorse or panic? Reflection or performance? I examined our marriage honestly for the first time. I hadn't been cruel. I hadn't been absent. I had been steady. She admitted nothing physical happened, but emotional boundaries had eroded. Trust doesn't shatter from one act. It fractures from patterns ignored. That night at breakfast, I realized love can be sincere and still unsafe. And sincerity doesn't erase harm, no matter how dramatic the apology appears under public lights. I suggested counseling. She agreed instantly, almost eagerly, as if speed could undo impact. Sessions uncovered truths neither of us liked. She craved external affirmation. I valued internal stability. Neither was wrong alone, but together they created imbalance. I realized her unthinkable act hadn't saved us. It revealed us. She wasn't kneeling for forgiveness. She was kneeling from fear. That distinction mattered. Slowly, I prepared myself for an ending I hadn't wanted but could no longer avoid. I separated finances, consulted quietly with an attorney, and reclaimed emotional distance. Elaine sensed it, growing anxious, attentive, present in ways that came too late. Love offered only after consequence isn't devotion. It's response. By the time she noticed I'd emotionally left, the marriage had already changed shape beyond repair. When I finally told her I was leaving, she didn't scream or beg. She looked tired, older, as if the performance had ended. "I thought stopping you that night meant something," she said. I nodded. "It meant everything," I replied. "Just not what you hoped." I moved into a small apartment near the river, quiet and plain. Friends asked questions I didn't answer. Rumors softened reality, but truth stayed firm. I didn't hate her. I didn't villainize her. I simply refused to live inside confusion. The heartbreak wasn't sudden. It was cumulative. I learned that love can survive mistakes, but not erosion disguised as charm. Walking away wasn't punishment. It was preservation. And that distinction allowed me to sleep without replaying rooms full of witnesses. People ask if I regret turning back at the door that night. I don't. I needed to see the full picture before choosing myself. Her unthinkable act didn't save the marriage, but it clarified it. It showed me how far things had gone and how desperate they'd become. I didn't lose a wife that evening. I lost an illusion much earlier. What I gained was certainty. Marriage isn't about who kneels publicly or apologizes loudest. It's about who protects the bond quietly, consistently, when no one is watching. I still believe in love. I just no longer confuse intensity with integrity. Some moments stop you cold. Others push you forward. That night did both. And walking away afterward wasn't weakness. It was the strongest truth I'd spoken.